Let's come back to the easy water piece. You highlighted there the importance of sulfur to maintain that. What are other things you like to do to make sure the easy water in your body is staying healthy?
Okay, well, you can't drink exclusion zone water. It's not something you can take as a supplement because it's a local factor. You know, it's what water does against any hydrophobic or hydrophilic surface. And for good quality exclusion zone water, then you have to have some good fats in your diet, and the most important one that people forget about are the saturated fats. You need obviously good quality water, and you need heat or warmth. The reason that we run at 37 degrees centigrade is because that is the perfect temperature for the best quality exclusion zone water. So we know there are some animals, poikilotheriums, snakes and reptiles, their body temperature can reduce right down to 30 or 31 degrees, whatever, and they can stay alive, but they can't function. And they have to sunbathe, they have to be warmed up, and once they're warm they can move like lightning, of course. So good quality exclusion zone water is absolutely essential for not just for movement within the body, but also to reduce the biochemical friction in the body. So exclusion zone water provides structure. Now mitochondria are obviously there to generate energy. And it's not just a case of having the raw materials. They've all got to be in just the right three-dimensional space. In fact, making the business of generating energy is all about handling electrons and protons. And for those respiratory enzymes, which are easily remembered by complex 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, for those respiratory enzymes to be effective, they have to be in a very precise three-dimensional space. They have to be within an angstrom of each other. That's the width of an atom. And having good quality exclusion zone water allows that to happen. As soon as you cool down and get too cold, then that structure is lost. It's diminished. There's more biochemical friction in the system. Energy generation is less, and everything goes slow. So this is one of the big problems of people who have an underactive thyroid. And I think the thyroid gland is the accelerator pedal of our car. And if that is going slow and they're running cold, then everything's going to go even slower. Mitochondria are going to slow down. And so, of course, they're going to have physical fatigue. Of course, they're going to have mental fatigue. This is why athletes warm up before they compete, because by warming up, you improve EZ water and reduce the biochemical friction in the body and the mechanical friction. So, for example, at the London Olympics, which is 2012, the cyclists had worked this out, and the velodrome was kept at 29 degrees centigrade, and which is the perfect temperature for top performance in cyclists. These are the sprinters, not the long distance riders. And more Olympic records were broken at the London Olympics than any previous Olympics. I'm sure part of that was because the velodrome was so warm, and that was an ideal temperature for athletes to perform at their best.
Okay, pivoting off slightly the easy water, is there any connection there to hydration and water we're drinking?
Well, yes, of course. You've got to have the right amount of water, and if you're water deprived, then you're not going to have the water there to make exclusion zone water. But I would just bear in mind that some people think it's a good thing to drink lots of water, and that can be equally harmful. In fact, some of my worst nourished patients are people who think it's a good idea to drink 3 or 4 litres of water a day. Now, you can drink pure water, but you can't pee pure water. When you pee, you always pass out all the minerals, a certain amount of them, because we don't scavenge all our minerals. So effectively, you're washing out minerals. So I like people to drink to thirst. So if you're thirsty, drink, but don't drink too much. Yes, we need fat for good quality membranes, and of course water is retained in the body by salt, so we need lots of minerals. So it's getting the balance of those 3 things that is so important. And in parallel with that, then we need some adrenals that work fairly well, because adrenals control salt retention in the bloodstream. And in fact, now this sounds very counterintuitive, but I have some people who seem to suffer very much. They say they're dehydrated all the time. They're drinking all the time in order to keep hydrated. I've had 1 or 2 successes of people who do short windows of dry fasting. So maybe, I like to time restrict food. So I eat all my food within a 6-hour window. So I have 18 hours where I'm not consuming anything. And every so often I just don't have any water either. 18 hours with no water. And it just stresses the kidneys a little bit and just wakes them up, makes them a little bit less idle. And I've had 1 or 2 notable success of people who say, "Well, I have to drink all the time to to stay hydrated and be well," but dry fasting can sometimes be very helpful. I mean, when you look at the dry fast, there's some who dry fast up to 5 days. I wouldn't recommend that. That just seems a bit too long for my liking. You'd want to monitor that very carefully, but it is possible, and that's another area that I'm going to be exploring in the future.
When it comes to hydration and drinking water, there's filtration, adding minerals directly to the water, structuring the water, which is a little bit different than the structured water in the body. How do you look at those variables with the water you're drinking?
Well, obviously, we want to drink the cleanest water we possibly can. Tap water in this country is just undrinkable. And so I recommend people use a water filter, something like a Berkey water filter seems to be very popular, and that pulls out the heavy metals and many of the pesticides. If you have any concerns or if you have fluoride in your water, then the only way to get rid of that is reverse osmosis. I have to say I haven't explored, and yes, minerals are important. I actually make up a product called Sunshine Salt, which has got all the minerals, all permitted minerals, and I suggest people add that to their food. Many people don't like that salty water. I have to say I haven't explored, the business. I know there are some people who like to use hydrogen water and activate their water in some ways, but I haven't explored that. What I can say, which is interesting, is I have horses and I have pigs here. And I'm very lucky. I have my own spring at the back, so there's a stream that runs constantly through their pen. There's a water trough which they never drink from, but from that fresh running spring water, they'll go out in the freezing cold when it's raining and drink that water because it's obviously preferable to them. Again, when I was competing my horses, I'd be 3 hours in a trailer, a competition. They would never drink the water at the foreign place, and they would come home and then they would drink. So, and animals are much more sensitive to the quality of waters than us humans. So, this is something I need to explore a bit more.
So you've never tested this water or consumed it yourself?
Oh yeah, I drink it all the time.
Okay.
No, no, I've never tested it. I've survived the last 35 years drinking it, so I'm sure I'll survive a bit longer.
If you enjoyed that clip, you're going to want to head over here and catch the full episode. I'll see you over there.
For insulin to work, it's got to have some essential cofactors. Things like chromium, carnitine, vitamin B3 and vitamin B1. We can have insulin resistance because the insulin receptor is blocked.